is Nelly van der Jagt, and I came to EMBL in October 1975. I'm Dutch, I'm coming from the Netherlands. I was very lucky to find a tiny little advertisement asking from some kind of company or whatever it was that was EMBL is looking for an office clerk or something like this. 2 lines, nothing else. Because it was really at the beginning, there was hardly anybody.
So who did the interview? Do you remember?
The interview was done by, at that time, the administrative director was French, so I made good points there. That was Bernard Bach, because French at that time was my best foreign language. And the other person was Konrad Müller. At that time he was chief of personnel section, I think they called it. And it turned out very well. He was always keen on saying, I was his first person he accepted for Konrad. Everybody was very new.
So you were among the first in the administration?
Yes, I was 37. Well, there was no real administration. There was no building, and my first weeks were in the DKFZ in the Neuenheimer Feld in Heidelberg. And we had a few offices there with everybody together. I mean, there was no personnel section and a finance section. We were 4 to 5 maybe administrators, and everybody was working for everybody. Maybe during the first 6 years that I was I was working in this council secretariat, and then I thought it's maybe not a bad idea if I change. And then I talked to Konrad Müller, and at that time there was an open position with the second Director General, the Swedish Lennart Philipsen. So I said, Konrad, what about me going there? And okay, of course I had to apply. We talked to each other, Lennart and me. There was one other person there, but that, as it was growing, one person in the DG Secretariat was not enough. So I started there for around 9 years, I think, until I changed again, and I changed again. So working for Lennart was very nice, always a challenge. I can very well, he was an emancipated Scandinavian man, and I was an emancipated Dutch woman, because we made a deal. He said, I know I cannot ask you that when I started, but would you make coffee in the morning? I said, and what is my reward?
Oh, that's good. That's
so,
the way to
okay,
put
we
it.
make a deal, of course, and I was allowed to drink coffee every time I wanted, and I could pop in. He had always an open door, and I always had an open door. So that was the coffee deal with Lennart.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I guess
I was happy, and he was happy.
Enhancing communication and
that was good. And then at some point, computers came into our life. There was a computer group somewhere, but nobody knew actually what they were doing at EMBL. There were two or three people, I think. But then they thought, maybe we can use this for admin people. And I was sent, and you go and try it out and see what you do. And I was always keen on doing something else I had no clue of. And at that time, there was a Dutch. It was not the head of the computer group, one of the collaborators, he was Dutch. And we had big fun, because I was not scary using and pushing buttons and so on, and he got mad after a while. But then we introduced using PCs for typing documents instead of a typewriter.
Do you remember approximately what year was that, around what time? Must have been like middle of the 80s or something?
End 80s,
End
I
80s,
think.
yeah.
Middle and between 85 and 90.
Because I remember it sort of started with, the typing idea, and
was
then
an
the
awful
whole...
thing. Because that must have been 86, 87, 88, because shortly before 99 we were allowed to choose the type of computers using for admin work. And before it was, I don't know what it was, but for example, I was typing in 3 languages. Now English was fine, but German and French with all the accents and things, that was not so easy. And to do that, you had to type in some knitting pattern, as I called it, because, an apostrophe and a comma and this, and then the word makes an accent in French
I see.
a
So there
silicon
was
flex
a combination to
yeah,
actually
so,
get the right
and only
printout.
only after a while, when we got the Apple Macintoshes, and the slogan was, "What you get what you see." But
So
that
you
was not
actually
before.
press a button and it does what it's
Yeah.
supposed to do. So that's interesting, because then, you know, it mirrors a lot of other people, especially scientists, saying that EMBL was so small that you somehow knew everybody, and it was very effective at the beginning, because you could go talk to people that were doing very different things, right?
Yeah. You at the beginning also, that makes me think of when we were the first year to, you knew everybody, or the first years. You knew everybody, you knew what everybody was doing, where he was sitting, and when you had a party, you invited everybody, and everybody fitted in one room.
Absolutely.
And there were many parties at the beginning from all the different countries you had.
Did you and the administration have many social interactions with the scientists?
We had a lot. Yeah, because there were not so many scientists and not so many admin people, so that was one big family, also one big group.
So, and how do you feel it changed over the years? I mean, when did you sense that it was becoming a very
bigger?
Yeah, large operation, and how did it change for you?
I think around in the 90s it became big, that you really didn't know everybody. And of course that's the way how life is. It's growing. And I think I had quite a good time, or the beginner's time. Of course it was more difficult to, well, I was taking care of organization to organize everything, but it was also, interesting. And I was never thinking of, okay, I'm so bored, I'm leaving this institute.
Okay.
Because you never know in the morning what's going to happen in the afternoon.
That's exciting, I guess.
and then of course, then I was working for Leonard, and at some point there was a vacancy for a program secretary, they were called at that time. So you were independent and had your own group of scientists. And I applied for that job, and I was changing then from the DG office to, that was called the biocomputing.
Okay, so the biocomputing program.
Yes. The biocomputing at that time was in the Annex building, together with the computer group. And that was a challenge, because then I could do whatever I wanted. I was more independent in my work. Of course, I had all the responsibility.
And who you were interacting with? I mean, with the program director, I guess.
Yes,
right?
At that time it was Chris Sander and Pat Argos, the two of them.
Okay.
And that changed to Matti Saraste.
Okay.
And after Matti, it was for a while Frank Gannon from EMBL.
Okay.
And then it was Per Borg and Luis Serrano.
Wow, you went through the history of
all of
that program, really.
And then at some point, also the structure from the structural computational biology program changed. Before, I forgot to mention, I was used to having 4 jobs at the same time. That was still in the DG office. That was DG office, and then I was also full responsible for the administrative director. That was a French person, Jean-François Beerbloch. The full 9 years he was there, and at the same time, the PhD program was established. And of course, conference office was established, and I did that too. So I had 4 jobs.
Wow. Yeah, it must have been interesting to see the starting of that.
Yeah.
I think, the PhD program of the EMBL in some ways, in many ways, set the standard for many other PhD programs throughout institutes in Europe and in the world. So it must have been interesting to see the beginning. Of that.
I still can remember the first PhD applicants who.
There must have been only a few people, right?
That was
like
about
a dozen.
12 or so.
Okay.
until it became 30, and I think then it was taken care of by somebody else.
Yeah, too big to be handled.
That was too much.
What do you think was the most challenging thing for you in the 40 years that you have spent? I mean, the moment in which you said, I cannot really make this happen. I mean, was there anything like that?
There was a few things. I think an important thing was be able to work with computers, because from nothing and typewriters and stencil machines to a computer, and you could serve in the whole world. That was really amazing. That was
it must have happened quite fast in the end.
Absolutely, yeah. That was really, really good. And that changed a lot in your daily work. Also that you took, of course, at that time your work home, which was not possible before.
Oh yeah, that must have been quite a change, because before you were just like, you know.
That's it.
Yeah. And then it became the era of I work whenever I can.
Yeah. Once, that you had to be very flexible, and there was always a challenge. Once happened, I don't know why, helping in the administrators of an EMBO conference, and as there was no building, a meeting room or an operon or whatever of that kind, we were allowed to use a hall in the Max Planck next door. And I can remember on one morning all the 500 people were over there, and then a couple was presenting itself to me to collect badges and documents and so on. And their 6-year-old son. Yes, we have him here. They were quite famous people. I think the lady was later a Nobel Prize winner, and they were American, very easygoing, so they came to collect their badge and leaving their 6-year-old son. And there were 500 people waiting. So what do I do?
So you had to.
So I phoned at that time. I said, Conrad, I have a 6-year-old boy and he has to go somewhere today. Oh yeah, no problem. We sent him with a bus to the European school in Karlsruhe at that time. That was every morning a bus with children went there, was organized.
So what is, I mean, I asked you what was the most difficult thing during your tenure, but what was the thing you're most proud of? I mean, where you think you had achieved?
There was one thing that was more towards the end. I have not only studied business, economics, law and so on, but also interior design at some point. At a university in the Netherlands, and then we the biocomputing unit was had to move from where we were, and we were 60 people to where I told you before, that was before the administration and HR. And then I was involved in the planning also of all the offices. So planning who's coming where, what kind of furniture, what on the floor. So I mean that was great, and it turned out to be very well. They had somebody in mind, and they gave an offer, and also Peer was quite involved. He liked to do that. So we sat there together, and I said, Peer, this is absolutely rubbish. You cannot sit there. There is a pillar. They had done, I don't know, some general planning, and it was very expensive. So then I was able, over the weekend, to organize another one who agreed to make a complete new planning, and they did it. They took it.
All right.
That was quite fun.
So I mean, this is, I guess, a lot of scientists must have thanked you for not having to stick with suboptimal organization.
I like that a lot.
So that's good. So you managed to apply your interior design skills to that situation.
That's why one of the reasons I was never bored is I could speak all the languages I could at that time. I had this interior design stuff. There was never anything there, so you had to think yourself.
So an exceptional workplace.
Absolutely. But I always liked the diversity of people. Everybody was so different, made it interesting.
So just to finish, I think, because we are having the 50th anniversary, I mean, the usual question that we ask is, what does EMBL mean to you?
What it means to me is that I was very lucky to have had the chance to work in this environment for so many years, and I wouldn't like to miss this. I can only, I'll look back with very, very good memories. I wouldn't have liked to work in another institute or environment.